And I am here today with Mike Iamele. He is or was a overdriven, overstressed perfectionist who drank 6 days a week, had acid reflux and GI issues. He worked in PR and surrounded himself with superficial people who didn't really like him and pushed himself hard to be the best at everything. Does this sound familiar, my friends? Until he faced a critical health crisis. He took 2 months to dive deep into his own healing, working within the realm of natural healing, and he healed himself. He dropped the stress, found his passion, and changed careers. Now, as a board-certified holistic health counselor, a clinical herbalist, an entrepreneur, and a writer, he creates custom programs to help entrepreneurs and creatives like us get healthy and build companies, achieve overwhelming success. He's also happy, successful, and knows what he deserves. He is the author of the forthcoming book, Enough Already, Create Success on Your Own Terms, which started pre-sales this week and is due out in April. I am honored and pleased to be sharing Mikey with you. I get to talk to him weekly. We are colleagues and we work with each other on some pretty deep projects, huh, Mike?
Yeah, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on, Wendy.
I am thrilled because Mikey is probably the best kept secret for now, and I'm almost hesitant to be sharing him because I know soon enough he's going to be so busy. He's going to have to be figuring out little chunks of time to fit all of us in. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Today, I want to focus on your new book. And I also want to focus on that process that you went through to heal yourself, that moment of awakening. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with, about what happened and how you decided to go the route that you did.
Sure. So, when I was about 20 years old, I started my career in public relations, and I worked at some really big agencies. I worked with George Clooney. I worked on, the new Cadillac launches. I did a lot of cool stuff. I advanced kind of quickly, and I was really driven to do a lot of stuff. So by the time I was 22, I had already started an agency with some Ogilvy executives, and it was a high-stress job, of course. I did healthcare reform. None of my friends I really liked, and I drank quite a bit. So it all came to a head one night. I went to a party. I came home, woke up the next day, and I was vomiting blood. And that lasted for about 2 to 3 months. I had to be in the hospital and get hooked up to an IV. It was kind of an interesting process, being a healthcare reform pro who was now a patient. And I started a blog about it just to tell people, what it's like to be the professional that's now the patient. And interestingly, the blog really started picking up attention. And I thought, oh gosh, people like hearing just about me. And that was the first time I realized how low my self-esteem was, that I could make other people famous, put other people in the news, but the second that I started talking about myself, I thought I didn't deserve any attention. And it really got me on this path. I remember the exact day. I went into the doctor. They told me my pancreatic enzyme levels were higher than I've ever seen, that my pancreas was going to fail, and that I need to go in for a radioactive MRI. And I remember thinking, I can't drink ever again. Oh, that's not going to happen. I will drink again one day. And so I decided to heal myself, quite honestly, just to start drinking. Through the process of healing, I went to Reiki, acupuncture, meditation, psychic readings. I read every wellness book out there. I wrote letters to anyone that I've ever wronged or that I felt ever wronged me. I made amends with people. For 2 weeks, my full-time job was getting better because I was convinced I needed to drink again. And how could I be in public relations and not drink? And the day I went in for the test, I remember, I knew in my mind there's nothing wrong with me. They will not find a thing. And truthfully, they didn't. But even more interesting, when I went to go celebrate, I had no desire for alcohol. And something significant had shifted in me. And that was when I realized that I had gained a lot of self-esteem and that the path I was on wasn't the one I wanted to be on. And so I changed my life.
Wow, that is amazing, and I love that story. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so my book kind of comes from that story and really expands upon the last few years of work that I've done with clients, helping them go through similar journeys that I've gone through. The book is called Enough Already, Create Success on Your Own Terms. And that enough already is kind of a double entendre. One, it's enough already. I'm fed up with the dysfunctional pressures of success. But the other meaning of it is enough already. I'm enough already to be the version of success I want to be. And the book is a 12-step guide that really walks you through an entire process of creating success on your own terms. From initially kind of conceptualizing and figuring out what success would look like for you and what you want in life, not what you think you should want, all the way through actually implementing that into your life and learning how to create it for yourself. And it's a really fun book because it has really embarrassing confessions from me. So you get, everything is on the line there, including the time that I had an accident at work because I was so sick, when I was vomiting in restaurants because I was so sick. It really puts that out there, my weakest moments, and then it talks an in-depth discussion about the topic and ends with some challenges to help you really ground the work in your own life. And when you finish the book, you have an entire guidebook for yourself on how to create your own version for success.
That's awesome. Why 12 steps?
So a lot of people ask me this, and it's not entirely related to the 12-step programs, although it works pretty well. It actually comes from a hero's journey. The steps are modeled after the journey described in Joseph Campbell's work of the hero's journey. And so what you find is that the beginning of the book is very tactical, it's very hands-on, but as you start to shift, you realize that a lot of it is mindset shifting work, and you begin to realize that even the work you've done tactically it only brings you to a certain point, and after a while, your own rules are kind of holding you back, and you need to just shift your mindset and become the person that you're meant to be.
A lot of people would argue that just shifting the mindset is impossible. How do you address that?
It may be difficult, and that's why we start with the more tactical version of figuring out what you want, really creating a compass for yourself through the things that you're afraid of, going about figuring out your skills, your talents, your passions, all of these strengths and weaknesses really comes up. But that's how we can ground the work. Once you've done the legwork, the mindset shifting becomes a lot easier. So I definitely think it's got to be a little of the inner work and the outer work. You can't expect to meditate your way to, if you want to be solitary and live on a mountain, that's cool. But for the few of us that want to live in the real world, we have to do some of the outer work as well. And so the book really targets both sides of the coin because I think that's important to creating success in your own terms.
What is the one lesson in there that really is the core in your personal journey? That one thing that had you not done that, nothing would have changed, or not changed permanently?
So this is really interesting because of course, I'm writing this book. I thought I'm really successful. I'm happy. I'm in the relationship I want. I have the money I want. I have the job I want. And then something really big happened while I was writing the book. I had this little voice in the back of my head that kept telling me, are you successful enough to write this book? And of course, I toned that down, but it was always there until one day I got up from writing. I started dancing around my living room just to kind of get that energy flowing, get my creativity flowing again so I could keep writing. And I have a big picture window overlooking the city of Boston. And I looked out this window as I'm dancing and laughing. And I realized, I'm dancing, having fun, writing a book about success at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If I can't feel successful at this very moment, I never will. And I just start laughing. And at that
Mm.
moment, my boyfriend, Garrett, came in the door and he said, "Why are you laughing?" And I said, "Because I'm successful." And he said, "Well, of course you are. It's just about time you realized it."
Hmm.
And that really, that story is in the book, and it really grounds the work for me that, we can go so far in the tactical stuff of creating success, but at the end of the day, it really is about allowing yourself to enjoy what you've created in your life and allowing yourself to enjoy the life that you deserve.
Where do you think the scarcity mentality comes from?
I think that a lot of people feel undeserving, and I think a lot of people are afraid to get as big as they're really meant to be. They don't necessarily think they deserve it. Um, I also think that our culture really focuses on competition. Everything from our economy to Facebook, where we're, putting up these fake images of ourselves to try to seem better, really drives this image of competition and makes everyone feel a little bit less. So we feel like we don't have enough, we never have enough. Coming from public relations, I can tell you, part of our job in PR and advertising is to make people feel that they don't have enough so that they'll buy more, of course. So it's kind of embedded in our culture, this scarcity mentality, because it makes money go around. But I think the bottom line is, I work with a lot of colleagues just like you who could work with similar clients, and I am happy to pass clients to the best fit because I know that there's more to go than enough to go around, and there always is.
Absolutely. You have a new niece.
I do, yeah.
What would you share with her out of the lessons that you've learned so that maybe she could build that confidence as she grows up?
Well, I think that I would really try to and encourage my sister, who's her mother, to help her accept herself as who she is, including her weaknesses. And there's a great part in my book that I love where I really have readers focus on their weaknesses and not on their strengths. Because weaknesses are often strengths, just channeled the wrong way, in the wrong context. If you are a person who is very sensitive and intuitive, like I imagine many of your listeners are, it can come across as a real weakness for a long time in your life. However, when you learn to use that skill and channel it and put yourself in situations that play to that skill, it actually becomes a strength. And so, weakness and strength is really just contextual, what you've grown up with. And I think I would encourage my niece, her name's Michaela, to find opportunities that play to her strengths and allow her to cultivate every interest of hers rather than just focus on what society is telling her to become.
Beautiful. I posted something on my Facebook on the Whole Being Inc. page early this morning. It was something that was coming up during the meditation, and what you were just talking about really reminds me of that. Kristen Kelp was doing a class earlier this year that I was listening in on, and she asked a question: what has your heart already decided on that your head is trying to rationalize away? And I was processing a situation that happened with a little girl that I mentor earlier in the week, and how her default continues to be, I don't know. And even when I'm asking, hey, what do you need? How can I best support you? I get, I don't know. And I was thinking about that, those three words, I don't know, and how many of us, and in a conversation you and I had yesterday, I was really struggling to not say, I don't know. Um, I think it's a defense mechanism within our brain around not getting honest about what we really truly want and need. For people who have spent a great deal of time rationalizing away that they no longer know how to communicate their needs and their wants, what advice do you give?
Well, I think it's really difficult because we condition ourselves up for so much time to just accept what other people tell us to want or what we think we're supposed to want, and we really lose that connection with ourselves. And so what I found is that, if you are unhappy or unsatisfied in any way, there's a tension going on. There's a conflict between what a deeper part of you wants and what you're actually creating in your life. And that's why in the book we start and we really focus on figuring out what you actually want in your life. We're all still have it because it's still being held in our body, and there's tension and that stress and that frustration. So it's there. A deep part of us knows it. And I really think it's about going inward and about starting to understand, what it is that you really want. I have a number of exercises from, visualizing the lifestyle that you want in the future, whether that is, how often you go to the gym, what type of restaurants you eat at, what type of friends you have. And we do all this in the context of when you're successful. So if you think about when I'm successful, I'm going to, buy that mansion, and I'm going to eat only, organic food, and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to do all these things. Well, the truth is, we're the only person who puts a limit on when we can do those things. I mean, maybe we can't jet set to Paris tomorrow, but we can turn our living room into France for a night and have a fancy dinner. So we can create the lives we want. It's just that in our minds, we feel like we have to deserve it. We have to work towards it. When we're successful, we can allow that. And I like to use that strategy to reverse engineer it and figure out, okay, if when you're successful, that's what you'll do, then that's actually what you want today and right now, and we can start doing that to get successful, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about some of the things. I know you mentioned that you danced, but some of the things that you did as part of your writing ritual while you were
Sure.
creating the book.
So, well, I'll just tell you, dancing is a huge thing for me, and it's so goofy, it's so awkward, but I posted on Facebook just to help people get into the energy of it, and it really helps me move the energy around. Whenever I feel tired, I feel stuck, I feel frustrated with the writing, I just start dancing and not thinking about the writing whatsoever, and then within 5 minutes, the words come right back to me. To start my day, I always do morning pages from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
And basically, for anyone not familiar with that, you write first thing in the morning when you wake up 3 full pages in your journal. Doesn't matter what you write. You can say, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this for 3 full pages. But just doing it will start to get some of that junk, that clutter out of your mind. It's almost like mental feng shui. And it really gets you back in touch with those deeper parts of yourself and what you really want. Because as I was saying before, it's always in there. You're always connected to what you want on a deep level. We've just forgotten how to access that connection. And that's one of the ways that really keeps me in touch with it, and then keeps me in touch with that flow of creativity and allows me to write. So those are probably my 2 favorite ways to stay in touch with my creativity.
Okay. Now I want to know, what does success look like for you?
Great question, and many people have asked me this before. This is probably the most difficult question to answer for anybody, even having gone through and written my book. But to me, success is really about nourishing myself in the ways that I want to be nourished, feeling comfortable in my own skin, feeling balanced and abundant in my life, and focusing majority on relationships, whether they're relationships with clients, with my boyfriend, with my family, but having those be the centerpiece of my life, you know, it's as simple as that for me. I don't need the big screen TV or the fancy car or even the impressive job, which I thought I needed. It's really more about nourishment and abundance overall. And these days, if a situation is just not nourishing me, I am like, I'm tough. I just cut it right there, because I realize that my time is valuable and I can no longer associate with people or places or situations that are draining me, which I think we all have that experience. And if I do have to deal with it, for example, I hate doing the dishes, I'll be the first to admit it. I have to find a way to make that worthwhile, because I know that I deserve to be nourished. And so, in true form, I put on some music, I start dancing, and the dishes get done.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am right there with you on the dishes. I make sure that the rule of any house that I am in is the person who cooks does not have to do the dishes. And let me tell you, I have become a very good cook as a result of this.
Well, that's motivation right there.
That's my nourishment, is I just cook so I don't have to do it. The problem is that I'm always the one cooking, so there's never a break in that. So I like your idea on just putting the music on and dancing your way through the dishes. That's awesome.
Exactly.
What's been the biggest challenge for you in getting to the point of being able to define success for yourself?
I think the biggest challenge is being really honest with yourself and clarifying what you want versus what people around you want, or what you're being told that you want. For so many years, I really believed that I needed to make a lot of money, or that I needed to have a really impressive job. And it's only been in recent years that I've allowed myself to realize, like, I don't like traveling to a movie premiere. I'm a homebody. I would so much rather curl up with a book and just stay in for the night. And I know, as a society, that just sounds like a lame thing to do, but it's really allowing myself to want what I want. And I say this all the time, but in this book, yes, it's tactical. Yes, we're talking about creating success, and that could be money, that could be relationships. But what we're really doing is going deeper and deeper into self-acceptance. And at the end of the day, success is really intimately tied up with self-acceptance, because you have to allow yourself to want what you really want, and you have to allow yourself to deserve it.
Absolutely. And I was just going to ask you another question. I got so into listening to your answer, it went out of my brain. Okay, it's back.
Oh, good.
What is the one conversation you're not yet courageous enough to have with yourself?
That's a good question. A good on-the-spot question.
I know, right?
I think it's definitely probably related to some of the inner healing stuff. I think the most difficult work I've done, and the most impactful on my path to success, has really been being honest with myself, both things. I'll give you some examples as I'm thinking about what the new one is. But I, at one point when I was really sick, wrote letters to every single member of my family, telling them everything I thought about them, the good, the bad, the times they hurt me, the times I was proud of them. And it led to some very difficult phone conversations, a lot of tears, and really a lot of healing. That was very difficult. There was so I guess I can use this opportunity to tell you about my boyfriend. I, prior to dating him, had never been with, nor really wanted to be with a man. And he was a friend of mine who I had known for about 7 years. And when I was sick, he really took care of me, and it was clear that, he was probably a little bit attracted to me at this point, and I started to develop feelings for him. And it didn't make sense to me. It didn't, I didn't know what to do with it, because I wasn't physically attracted to him, and because I didn't really even see myself in that way. It was completely new to me. And that was an area that I felt like I need to just be honest with myself, this is what I'm feeling. It doesn't matter what I felt in the past or what I feel in the future. It's where I am in the present. And I had the conversation with him, and it took us about 2 years to make the relationship work, but we are now very happy. We're monogamous, and we've made that relationship work. So I think, certainly there are other things I need to be continuing to accept in myself. Um, Maybe I think probably the new one is just allowing myself to get as big as I'm going to be.
Mm.
Just because I don't need to have that prestigious job doesn't mean that my message isn't very important and that I don't need to share it with more people. And so allowing myself to now step onto that bigger stage is probably the conversation that I need to be having right now. Um, and we're always going to be going through this. We're always going to be going through deeper and deeper levels of self-acceptance. That's part of what it means to learn how to be yourself and learn how to be human. And I'm just really grateful that I'm on this journey.
And I know we are both part of a community called the Woo Woo Crew.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us play in that realm quite a bit, both professionally and personally. So, what role has that played? I know you've done a lot of holistic healing work on yourself. What else speaks to you in that realm, and what are you excited about right now?
Oh, everything. So I'm a total hippie. My own healing path really turned this cynic into a believer on a lot of things. And one of the first things I started studying was herbalism. And, as a healthcare reform guy, I got it. A lot of current pharmaceuticals are derived from herbs. So it made sense. But really, you can't study herbalism without studying the spiritual underpinnings of it. And the deeper I got into that, the more I really got so invested and interested in, the cultures and traditions of Native people. And right now, I have herbs hanging over my door, which is, rumored to keep bad spirits out. Very interesting to me. Just today, I started thinking about the fact that we need to, or I need to at least, study ancient cultures and the way they've done things rather than just supplant them with what is being done today, because we're losing so much tradition and history and interest. Do I believe that there are gods and goddesses? Not really, but I believe that those are wonderful archetypes that we can use to focus our energy and to explain things. And that's something that we've lost as the entire world kind of focuses more on monotheistic religion. I think that in science, we definitely focus more on the Western medicine, which I think is wonderful and been really helpful. But we've lost out a little bit on, some of the Eastern healings that in the U.S. we don't practice as much, and even some of our own native, witchcraft, paganism, Native American healings that understand the world in different ways. So for me personally, right now, I'm really interested in paganism. I'm really interested in ancient herbal practices. I'm really interested in astrology. And I'm just looking at the ways that different cultures at different times have understood these energies of the universe, because it helps me create a clearer picture. And one of my favorite things to say is that the greatest lessons in the world are all contradictions. They don't make sense when you look at them from a distance, but when you really look deep within them, you start to realize that they have to be contradictions to integrate. We have Eastern medicine, we have Western medicine, and they don't seem to make sense together. But when you put them together, when you integrate them, that's when real healing can happen. And I believe that's why I got better. So.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And I love how you give back to the community as you're learning, you're sharing all of that. And your pure approach of the abundance mentality and helping those around you grow is really inspirational. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I have been so blessed, and so many people have been generous along my path and given me such great information. I think information is one of the most powerful things you can give because it's empowering. People can then go on and use it in their life. They can implement it. And so just today, actually, I'm teaching some of the woo-woo group that you mentioned a Chinese face reading class because it's just fun, it's interesting, that's something that nourishes me. And this idea of giving to receiving is so new and foreign to me. Back in the day, I would have thought I either give or I get. And today, I said earlier, I only do things that nourish me. I only work with clients that nourish me. I only teach seminars that nourish me because I've been burnt out. I've been there. I don't want to go back. It's very easy to overgive, but when you give in a way that just feels exciting and full of passion, then you're automatically nourished. And so, yes, it could be generous by me, but it's also a little bit selfish because I'm getting just as much as I'm giving.
I love it. And I had a feeling you were going to answer just like that.
You know me too well.
Now, I feel like this far into the conversation, I just keep feeling like I need to bring this up.
Bring it up.
Mike, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, so listeners, you have now been listening for a half hour to these phenomenally wise words of a person who took his life, his situations, everything that he had created, and made a shift and made it fairly quickly. 2 years is really not that long of a period of time, and is now living his truth. And I bring this up because I think there is such a misperception, and I even read a similar question on the forum, one of the forums I'm in yesterday, about do you have to go back and understand the why of all of this stuff, or can you just erase the tape in your head and start new? And I think you're very much proof on you made the amends and then you just created new. So talk to us a little bit about your insight to this.
So I think that working with clients, it depends on person to person how much they need to go back. Some people just cannot let go. I say with emotion, we always want to honor but not dwell. And for the people that are dwelling, we need to go back to those places and figure out what's going on there. How can we release that so we can move forward? For me, there's certainly and always will be some hurts and pains that are going to be with me. And I'm working through them, my own insecurities. Certainly I'm not perfect. But there's also, it's got to be a little bit of that masculine and feminine energy. You do a little bit of clearing, but you've also got to start moving forward and figuring out what that successful life is going to look like. And so I find that I really tune into my body. If I feel like I'm at a point where I need to go inward, I need to process, I need to maybe work through some things that have happened recently, and I have gone through a few situations. My uncle passed away this month, as did I had to put my hedgehog to sleep. And so it was a very turbulent month. And it was a month for me to really go inward and process those feelings and not blaze through them like nothing happened. However, there are times where I feel like I'm excited, I want to learn astrology, I want to start working with more clients, I want to teach a class. And so it's a little bit of that balance, and I think the best way to figure it out for yourself is to just tune into yourself. Never force yourself, allowing yourself to want what you want, as I said before, and allowing yourself to be where you are is really important.
I have to ask you this.
Shoot.
How did you get a hedgehog?
How did I get a hedgehog? Well, they've only been domesticated now for like 7 years, so they're not that common. But in New Hampshire, I live in Boston, in New Hampshire they have a breeder. And they're technically legal in Massachusetts if you can get one. So it's about a 2-hour drive. I felt very called to get it. For some reason, I just thought, what a cool animal. It's nocturnal. While I'm at work, it will be asleep. When I'm home, I can play with it. And I had her for about 3.5 years. Ellie was her name. Great hedgehog. And then And I got her way before I was spiritual or any of this happened. And then as she was passing, I started to look into the traditional shamanic totem of hedgehogs, and I found that they're very spiritual animals, that they are often associated with shamans and help them kind of bring out their own intuition and spirituality, and that they are one of the few animals that have a natural resistance to snake venom. So really kind of a
Mm.
powerful ancient animal that I knew nothing about. And it's such a beautiful metaphor that as I got her, kind of my life changed and moved into a more spiritual direction. And I was unafraid to open myself up. And hedgehogs are notoriously kind of protective. They have that spike on the outside, those spikes. And she really softened as she got older. And so it was really kind of a beautiful metaphor of how we grew together and helped each other.
Did her spikes ever spike you?
Oh yeah, I've been spiked more than a few times, especially early on, or especially if you wake her up when she's in deep sleep, she gets pissed. So, she's taught me a lot about approaching situations very gently at first and not diving in too quickly. And so I've made that mistake my fair share of times.
That is so wild. Thank you for sharing that.
No
If
problem.
you had a magic wand and you could wave it over the world and make a overarching change, what would you change?
I would make people feel deserving and worthwhile. I am just overwhelmingly amazed at how many times people, really competent, beautiful, amazing people, just do not feel worthwhile. And it's insidious. It's not in the ways that we think of. Certainly deprivation of food, like an eating disorder, is a more obvious manifestation, but little subtle things, staying in toxic relationships, staying in situations that are not benefiting you, not applying to jobs that you want to apply to, not asking a person out. These are ways that we just don't feel good enough, and we hold ourselves back from the success that we absolutely deserve. Now, I wrote today, so great timing, just on my blog, that I believe that everybody deserves food, water, sleep, and then love and fun in their lives. No matter what you've done in the past, you do not have to work for it. You inherently deserve those things. And I think there are so many people who feel that they need to work harder and be good enough to ever deserve that type of life.
I think I might know where your inspiration came from on today's blog. Yes, I'm fessing up. This is a conversation we had yesterday, and I'm the one who is feeling unworthy. So, um, it is true, though, and I think that so many people who are on this spiritual path and who have started to recognize that they create the illusion don't really know what to do with that and feel like, well, if I created it, I have to uncreate it, and I can't ask for help.
Yeah.
I have to do it on my own. And as you so beautifully nudged me yesterday to realize that we're here to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the journey.
And it's really humbling and amazing to realize how many people want to help you if you just ask. I mean, this is a lesson I learned way back in my public relation days, where I would just go up to a CEO. I went up to Gordon Brown's advisor, actually, and I just said, "Hey, I'm interested in what you do. Let's talk." And people are so willing to help you if you just ask, especially when it comes to emotional issues. If you are having a bad day, ask friends for help. If you are, dealing with an internal insecurity, tell your significant other. Do not think that you're going to be less deserving. And if they don't like you for telling your insecurity, then they don't deserve you, because that's who you truly are, and that's really related to self-acceptance. So I really think that we need to all just realize, how much we deserve and not be afraid to share with people. And especially if you do have a significant other or a close relationship, I always tell people that's your safe relationship. That's where you experiment, you play with things, you see how you can work on yourself so you can bring it to the outside world. I know me and my boyfriend Garrett, before we were dating or anything, we were friends and we would often confide in each other about insecurities. And it was really there that cultivated the love, but also that helped me realize that these are sacred relationships. Our close relationships are safe for a reason. So we can explore, we can play, we can heal our insecurities, and then bring those out to the outside world at large.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. My final question to you is, what does whole being mean to you?
Another good question. You've got all the good ones. Um, I think that whole being really means integrating all the aspects of yourself. Like I said before, we are contradictions. Every spiritual lesson is a contradiction. That's just the way the universe works. And it's really on meditating on those contradictions that we find out how to integrate them. And, as you might notice, the word integrate comes from the same root as the word integrity. And that's because, when you aren't fully integrated, you're going to act out of your shadow. You're going to act out of kind of the dark parts of yourself that you hide, and you're going to be kind of seen as a hypocrite. You're going to say one thing and really want to believe it, but there's a yearning to do something else. And so I think it's really just comes down to self-acceptance again, like I said before, with success, that as you learn to accept yourself, as you learn to look into your shadows, playing both in the light and the shadows, because I can't tell you how many spiritual people I know who are all about the light and don't even want to talk about the shadows.
Oh,
And
amen.
that's well and good, but that's not reality. Just like we need to do the inner and outer work, we need to do the light and the shadow work. And I think that it's really about integrating your light and your shadow so that you can shine light over it all and really be that whole being.
Ah, yay. And that kind of gives me a natural segue to share with listeners that I am actually creating a course right now that Mikey inspired me to do that is really all about playing with the shadow and the light of our archetypes in order to bring more balance, strength, flexibility, surrender, and opening into our lives. So more about that soon, my friends.
I'm excited
Mike,
to hear.
if you would, please let people know all of the services that you offer.
Sure. So I offer 3 levels of packaging, and they all have kind of combined services. But basically, if you come from me for just a basic level, I call it a taste of success. And in that, you'll get a Chinese face reading and herbal recommendations based on your body type, your astrology, your unique issues, and your personality to help you get through your blocks. And on top of that, we'll also work closely on building the business, creating financial and product roadmaps, as well as branding and clarity. So I mix a little bit of the spiritual, a little bit of the PR, and it works really fun together.
Yes, it does. I can attest to that. And people can find you on your website at www.bostonwellnesscoach.com. You're also on Facebook, and are you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. I'm not great at it, but I'm on it.
So start with his website first. It's a great website. You can also find him on his blog, and he writes regularly. He's a contributing writer now for mindbodygreen.com. So lots of opportunities to find Mikey. And if they wanted to get your book, to pre-purchase your book, where do they do that?
So you can get it on Amazon. It's just called Enough Already, Create Success on Your Own Terms. And I also have a book website, which is easy to remember, just MikeIamele.com, and you can sign up for more updates there.
Perfect. We will put links to that in the show notes. It has been an honor and a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you for your time and your energy and for being you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, Wendy.
Until next time.
All right.